I cannot believe you need to go again. I told you to use the restroom in the coffee shop, darling.
After Uncle Stu had been in there? Really? Did you see how many deviled eggs he had for lunch?
Oh, goodness.
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish. You better come out and stop me.
Do the maths. 6 soda refills into one tiny 10-year-old's bladder does not go.
Alright, I'm gonna get this out of the way at the start. Home Sweet Home Alone, the reboot of the Home Alone franchise, is the worst of the series. And that's saying a lot, as the series has been on a downward spiral since 1997.
Harry! I've reached the top!
But this film is worth discussing due to one baffling element.
Is it really a crime to steal something that was stolen from you?
Yes, that's what OJ got in trouble for. The second time.
The writers made the film's villains to be the most likable, rational, and relatable characters in the story, who are completely justified in trying to rob a child home alone.
Wow! What a hole!
It'd be like if in the original Home Alone, Harry and Marv were completely justified in planning to rob the McAllister household after Kevin intentionally stole something from them in the first act and then retaliated when they rationally tried to get it back from him.
Ah!
Yep, that's basically the plot here. I'm not kidding.
Just calm down, and we can talk about this rationally. So easy on the soda, okay?
Instead of the wet bandits, we get a married couple that are trying to provide for their kids during the holiday season. It'll be so fun to watch them nearly die, right?
Yes. Woof.
I guess this was intended to subvert expectations, but it just ends up taking the charm and heart that made Home Alone a holiday classic and replacing it with a mean-spirited unlikability. Stuffed with as many modern references as possible.
Hey Bethany, is this a good time for a selfie in front of an Uber?
Hashtag ill-judged.
And then embarrassing out-of-touch references. And of course, farts.
I'm sorry.
As well as those awful jokes that every comedy reboot seems to have today, where the characters acknowledge that they're in a reboot and add some meta commentary about it.
Ugh, this is garbage. I don't know why they're always trying to remake the classics. Never as good as the originals.
I mean, even the movie's tagline seemed to reference this.
Hashtag ill-judged.
And yeah, I know, this is just a kids movie released on Disney+, but it represents a larger problem with most modern kids movies, in that studios are just afraid to take a chance on any original content.
No pressure. Well, maybe a little pressure. You know, it's a lot of pressure.
But there's still a lot to dissect here. Some good, mostly bad. So let's look at how Home Sweet Home Alone not only kills the spirit of Christmas, but also a franchise.
Don't blame her. That's you.
Sorry.
Shame on you.
The year was 1987, when casting child actors for his upcoming film Uncle Buck, director John Hughes came across a then 8-year-old Macaulay Culkin. It's clear from his screen test and later performance in the film that he had something truly special.
Where's your wife?
Don't have one.
How come?
It's a long story.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
How come?
It's an even longer story.
Are you my dad's brother?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
38.
John Hughes realized this himself when shooting the movie. In particular, this scene where his character Miles sits guard at the front door. This sequence inspired John Hughes to write Home Alone. Though he passed on the directing duties to Chris Columbus, Hughes championed Macaulay Culkin for the lead, and still guided the project as producer. But Chris Columbus also made some creative choices that defined the movie, such as the casting of Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, and securing John Williams as the film's composer. Through all of these elements coming together, Home Alone became a smash hit, remaining at number 1 for 12 weeks straight. While Home Alone 2 has been critiqued for being too similar to the first film, I actually think it took a lot of chances too, like the Plaza Hotel subplot and the casting of Tim Curry.
I love you.
Allegedly, John Hughes wanted to shoot Home Alone 2 and 3 back to back, as star Macaulay Culkin was quickly aging. This never happened though, and Home Alone 3 was shelved until 1997, by which time Culkin had taken his hiatus from acting. This is why most of the characters in Home Alone 3 feel like clones of the McAllisters, because the script was written for those characters by Hughes. This movie underperformed on all expectations and seemed to prove the series was not worth continuing without those original characters.
#ill-judged.
So to stupidly combat this, Fox next made a sequel that recast the McAllisters for Home Alone 4, a TV film released in 2002. Yet another negatively received TV sequel came in 2012, which seemed to put an end to the Home Alone franchise. But then in 2019, Disney acquired 20th Century Fox and all of their properties in their continued domination of the film market.
Happy Hanukkah, Marv.
And naturally, one of their first orders of business was to resurrect the Home Alone franchise. Now, call me an optimistic fanboy, but I actually believe a legacy sequel to Home Alone could have been really fun. Disney proved with The Force Awakens that they know how to appeal to fans old and new of a franchise. Even if they later went off course, they still made a lot of smart calls in that first movie, with a great blend of old and new characters working together. And the same formula could have worked for Home Alone. I mean, both Macaulay Culkin and Joe Pesci returned for Home Alone-themed Google Play ads, so it's not implausible to ponder. But what did they do instead? They center their story around completely new characters, while forcing in the Home Alone branding, sound cues, and occasional nod to the original movie.
I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good
Oh, this is garbage.
The movie stars Archie Yates as Max. Unlike Kevin McAllister, who was a good-hearted kid that just seemed to be misunderstood by his family, Max is an unlikable, vindictive brat from the start, who doesn't seem to care at all about the holiday, or anyone for that matter.
Oh, little boy doesn't want to share his dolly? But I just don't see why we have to share our house with every stupid relative we have.
Oh, that sounds great.
Where do I sign up?
Oh, I'm sick of this bullshit.
You can't promise a kid McDonald's and not deliver.
Stop whining.
Archie gave such a great, fun, likable performance in Jojo Rabbit, so it's just sad to see the writing fail him here.
How the heck do you have so much soda?
My parents buy in bulk. It's more cost effective.
Early in the movie, Max is driving home with his mom, Carol, and has to urgently use the bathroom. So they pull over at an open house and pretend to be prospective buyers. Naturally, the homeowners are present during the open house, because why should they even bother making sense from the start?
What are you doing?
Anyway, Max comes across one of the owners, Jeff, played by Rob Delaney, and insults him for no real reason.
Wow, you're so tall. You almost look like Frankenstein.
Oh, you mean Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is the doctor, FYI.
Max then notices a box of antique dolls that belong to Jeff's mom. Carol comments that one of these dolls might be worth something, before the two have a little fight.
Oh yay, I can't wait to go home and share one toilet with 9 blooming cousins.
Maxwell Johann Mercer. What is with you today?
Remember that argument scene between Kevin and his mom in the first movie? It's pretty heart-wrenching and came at the end of a long line of frustrations experienced by Kevin.
I hope I never see any jerks again.
The catalyst for that argument scene here is simply Max getting angry when Carol decides not to take him to McDonald's as a result.
No McDonald's for you on the way home.
What? Mum, you can't promise a kid McDonald's and not deliver.
Ooh, what a McShame.
Geez, if Max thinks his family is bad, he really needs an Uncle Frank in his life.
You know what? How's about we just spend Christmas in Tokyo without you?
Great idea.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
To lighten the mood, Jeff makes a playful dad joke at Max's expense. Max then retaliates by supposedly stealing the doll that his mom just valued at over $5,000. Well, you know, maybe it's justified and Max's family is struggling. Nope, they live in a palace.
You little jerk.
Like the original, Max and his large extended family are heading to Tokyo the following morning. But unlike the original, instead of coming up with a clever series of mishaps for how Max gets left behind, he just falls asleep in the car and no one notices. Until they're in Tokyo. a 12-hour flight later.
Think positive, Frank.
You be positive, I'll be realistic.
You know how people always say Home Alone could never get made today due to how easy it is for parents to keep tabs on their kids? Well, I'm sure this movie has a good workaround for this, right?
Homebot, call Mum.
I'm sorry, voice calling is not available on this HomeBot device.
Wow. What a hole.
That's how it's explained that Max can't call his mom. No other contact attempts are ever made, no neighbors are called, not a text is sent, we get nothing.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Max does have a dad, played by Andrew Daly, but he couldn't care less that his son is back in America. I mean, in the scene where they realize that Max is missing, he doesn't even appear on screen. Surely, though, the police would take this matter seriously. Well, I'm sure they normally would, but to fix this plot hole, the movie shoehorns in an adult Buzz McAllister into the plot, who is now a police officer, and thinks the 911 call about a kid home alone is just a prank.
We forgot my little brother, Kevin. He called in the 289 to mess with me. The idiot does it every year. Yes, I'm sure about that. I know for a fact.
It's great to see Devin Rattray back in the role, but the movie underutilizes him, and he exists just to cover up a plot hole.
Wow. What a hole.
Max himself doesn't want to call the police because he thinks it will cause his parents to get arrested for leaving him home alone. This movie has a running joke where it cuts to characters having daydreams, because that's clearly an element that was present in the other films. I think the writers just confused elements of A Christmas Story with Home Alone.
So, poisoning.
It turns out that Jeff and his wife Pam, played by Ellie Kemper, are the ones who are struggling. Jeff recently lost his job and they're being forced to sell their house to make ends meet, a fact that they even have to hide from their kids.
These are just a gesture to say congratulations for taking your first step. Congratulations, man. You gotta take care of yourself. We're gonna get rid of that jelly belly, Dad. Am I right? Get rid of the jelly belly.
If that weren't sad enough, Jeff's rich brother and his entitled family show up, making Jeff and Pam feel even worse for not being able to provide a proper Christmas for their kids.
Oh, honey, no, I'm sorry. That's way too much.
Okay, no. I can't stand the thought of you not having that.
Consider an early Christmas present from Auntie Maymay. You're gonna look so hot.
To top it all off, Jeff doesn't realize the doll was missing until he discovers one being listed on eBay for $200,000. I mean, could things get any worse for this couple? It'd be like if in the original Home Alone, it's explained that Harry and Marv are fostering Harry's orphan, terminally ill niece, and the only way they can provide for her is to resort to burglary. But even then, it still wouldn't be as bad, as again, I need to stress that Max supposedly stole from them first here. When they first try to get the doll back, Max overhears them and thinks that it is him that they are trying to kidnap and sell, not the doll.
All we have to do is find that ugly little boy, and then some crazy old lady will pay us $200,000 for him.
Which results in another dream sequence. In fairness, at the end of the movie, it's revealed that Max didn't actually steal the doll, but rather a can of soda. That's only revealed to the audience after Jeff and Pam go through all of Max's traps, though. So are we really supposed to feel joy as an audience when this poor couple goes through agonizing torture for just trying to provide for their kids and retrieve their stolen property?
Yes.
Again, we as the audience don't know at this point that Max did not take the doll. Therefore, instead of these scenes being comedic, like in the original and all the other films, they just have an undertone of sadness behind them, which is made worse considering how the movie continually paints Max as the most unlikable character in the story. Like this scene at church a couple of days earlier, where Max runs into Jeff and Pam's son, and he actually gives Max a toy he was supposed to donate to charity because he feels bad for him for being alone on Christmas. And then Max keeps it, and takes it home to his palace.
Look what you did, you little jerk!
One of my favorite elements from Home Alone is the relationship between Kevin and his mom, and how she can't forgive herself until she is home for her son. You can sense her anguish in every line that Catherine O'Hara delivers. It's through her own journey that we also get those great scenes with John Candy as well, that really highlight the importance of helping out strangers.
You'd give me a ride?
Sure we will, why not? You know, you gotta get home and see your kid.
You want to see the closest we get to that kind of arc here?
Would you like some of my blanket? Okay.
No showing Carol selling her own jewelry for an earlier flight, or pouring her heart out to a stranger in the back of a van. Just her in some awkward moments with a character that's not even named.
Hashtag ill-judged.
So Jeff and Pam plot to get their doll back once and for all on Christmas Eve by pretending to be Santa.
And it's Elf!
Now, I just have to say that Rob Delaney and Ellie Kemper are the best parts of this movie.
The light is motion activated, and if we stand still, it'll turn off.
Yeah, but it's just gonna turn back on when we move again.
Maybe it's because they're the only likable characters in the story, but they're also just clearly having a lot of fun with their characters, and it shows.
Yippee! Hey!
They managed to get the one laugh out of me from the movie, where they're about to break into Max's house, and
that the clothes are made to fit you while you have to be.
When they finally do get to Max's house, most of the booby traps are updated ones from the other movies, except here they're dialed up to stupid. Like when Jeff eats hot sauce-laced cookies that were left on the front step, outside, on the ground, at a stranger's house, as well as a bunch of new tech-heavy traps that were clearly written by adults who understand how modern technology works.
Where have you taken me?
Eventually, the couple realize that Max didn't take their doll, and Max realizes that they didn't want to kidnap him, and they take him home to spend Christmas with them. It turns out that Jeff's nephew was the one that took the doll, in a scene where we get even more pratfalls. But Max saves the day, Jeff and Pam don't have to sell their house, Max's mom shows up, and credits roll. Right?
I'm terribly sorry, sir, but I'm afraid you're mistaken.
Why is there still 10 minutes left? Well, I guess so the movie can give us this needless second ending. Oh well, at least Max's dad is on screen for this scene.
To new friends and family.
All right, enough of this gooey show of emotion.
The element that's so frustrating about this movie is the threads of decent ideas that are outweighed by a convoluted plot and forced references to a much better movie. Like I said earlier, a legacy sequel to Home Alone could have been really fun. I actually like the idea of flipping the stakes of the hero and the villain, but Home Sweet Home Alone just does this in a way that makes you feel really bad for Pam and Jeff, therefore making the slapstick and falls, which is a staple of this franchise, to come off as lazy and mean-spirited. I mean, Harry literally tells Kevin he's going to bite his fingers off in the first movie.
First thing I'm gonna do is bite off every one of these little fingers, one at a time.
He deserves everything that happened to him. A struggling couple that's experiencing financial hardship and a misunderstanding about a misplaced valuable doll does not warrant this level of comic revenge. But regardless, Home Alone will remain a holiday staple for decades to come. I'm just kind of bummed that this is what is being offered to kids today in its place. You see, Home Alone is not a movie that works based on its concept alone, but rather in its casting, its heart, the writing, the direction, its soundtrack, and even tone. If you want my advice, forget to make Home Sweet Home Alone a part of your holiday this year, and just enjoy the original.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.